Welcome to the Honest Dog Breeder Podcast with me, your host, Julie Swan, where each week we dive in to discuss all things dog breeding so you can build a breeding business you love, producing dogs that fulfill their owners' dreams. I believe you can have an honest dog breeding program that also pays the bills. So throw those pods in your ears while you're cleaning kennels. I'd love to join you. If you've ever been to my website, you might have seen on the side right column, there's a place for people to ask questions. Today, we're going to do a little Q&A based off some of the questions I've received in that contact form on my website. So without further ado, let's dive right in. What are the best practices for handling a delayed puppy pickup? It's really great for us breeders when people are ready to pick up their puppy the day they're ready to go. Last weekend, I was able to deliver 5 out of 6 puppies in one trip. It was magical. But then there was that one. There's always that one, right? The one puppy buyer who says, we can't pick up the puppy for a week, maybe 2, or gosh, sometimes people ask you to hold the puppy for weeks. It's stressful. What can you do? Well, you can always tell them no, but then you might risk the sale. So if you are going to hold on to that puppy, how should that work? If you just hold the puppy with no extra charge, it's too easy to be taken advantage of. The easiest way to prevent this is by charging a boarding fee. I recommend charging per night. It's easier to calculate than per day since you'll need a cutoff time for what counts as a full day. But first you need a pickup window that's standard and has no additional charge. Here's what I recommend. Start by creating your free pickup window. If your puppies can go home at 8 weeks, maybe your window is the week between 8 weeks and 9 weeks of age. So if they were born on a Thursday, buyers can pick them up that Thursday that they turn 8 weeks, the following weekend, or any day through the day they turn 9 weeks. That's your 1 week window. No charge for pickup in that window. I have this written into the pricing section of my contract. If you want to buy a copy of the contract, I have it for sale. Check out the description or show notes. In my contract, I allow my buyers 2 weeks since my dogs are a little more expensive and I only have a few litters per year. That makes it harder to conveniently bump people to the next litter. After that 2-week window, boarding fees will apply. I've seen as little as $15 per night for what breeders will charge, but usually it's $25 to $50 per night as standard. This pricing does 2 things. Compensates you for your time, feeding costs, and disruption, and encourages timely pickup because it adds a cost when they delay. Have you ever noticed people ask you to do something, then they back out once you quote a small fee? They were hoping you'd take the hit for their convenience. That's okay. That's human nature. But by putting a price on it, you either get compensated or they figure it out themselves and don't inconvenience you. The last step. Get full payment during the free pickup window. Sometimes delays are due to money issues and they want more time at your expense. That's why we charge for boarding and why full payment is due when pups are ready to go. Without it, they may never come up with the money. Then you're stuck. Puppy unpaid, not picked up, but a contract that has the dog reserved. My contract addresses this and yours should too. On to the next question. Should you breed multiple breeds or just stick with one? This question comes up a lot. You might be in love with multiple breeds. You might feel like you're hedging your bets by having 2 different dogs to offer to potential buyers, or you might want to take advantage of the market swings with breed popularity changing. However, the truth is it will always be simpler to have more dogs of one breed than to have 2 breeds. Here's why. Every breed has its own set of ideal puppy buyers, which are people looking to buy a dog within the breed. Your marketing will be most effective when you pick to market to a small niche within the larger niche of ideal puppy buyers for the breed. To illustrate this niching down, think of people who want a little Yorkie. You have a variety of people who want a Yorkie. For example, you have younger women who want the accessory dog that they can dress up, take everywhere, and be their little partner in crime. Then you have the older woman who wants a companion animal to spend time with, someone to watch the news with, cuddle up with on the couch, and read a book with. And to alert her to someone at the door because she might not have her hearing aids in. While both of these people would do well to get a Yorkie, they are vastly different buyers. When you are designing your brand, your word choice, your marketing, and where to market, you're going to select vastly different strategies and brands for these two buyers. You might want hot pink and black for the younger women, but you might want lavender and cream for the older women. The more effective you are at speaking directly to the specific ideal buyer that you choose, the more effective your marketing will be. When your marketing is effective, it will sell buyers on your dogs before they ever even talk to you. That's the goal, bringing you warm leads. So if you have two breeds, what you've done is duplicate all of the work of branding and marketing. You need two different ideal puppy buyers, two different brands, two different websites, two different marketing strategies. The thing that I love about marketing is that when it's done right, it greatly reduces the workload on you. But when you take on that second breed, you double your workload unnecessarily. I recommend two breeds if you adore both and can't imagine giving one up. In this case, the breeds have intrinsic value to you. However, it will nearly always make more sense to cut down to one breed and then make that program bigger once you've got a steady stream of clients. This allows you to produce more puppies without doubling your marketing efforts. That's the sweet spot. If you're torn on two breeds and what to do, take a look at what brings you joy, the buyers you like working with, and which program is ultimately more sustainable for you. That's what you should go with. Make it easy on yourself. What will give you consistent predictability that you enjoy? That's the breed you should go with. Marketing can always be adjusted, but sustainability is harder to manage. For example, if one breed is an easy keeper but sells for a little less, chances are it will be easier to get your price up or your margin and keep the sustainable breed over the more volatile one. I know it's hard. I'm in the middle of it myself, but I know you can do it. Next question. What are the best questions for your puppy application? People always want to know what should go on the puppy application, but I think a better question is, what is the purpose of the puppy application? The purpose is for it to be a conversation starter. You want your puppy application to ignite a conversation between you and your potential buyer. It's the offer to start the dance between you two to see if you're a good fit for one another. Are your dogs the right dogs for them? Are you the right breeder? Will they be buyers who will be successful with your puppies? When I first made a puppy application, I took all the questions I used to ask people and put it on a simple form. It saved a lot of time with the back and forth and gave us something to chat about on that first call. Oh, I see you have little kids. What are you worried about with little kids and a new pup? Or, oh, I see you have cats. That can be a little hard with a new puppy. What are your thoughts on it? These aren't interrogations, and they aren't meant to be pass or fail. Like I said, they are conversation starters. They help you get to the bottom of things to see if you're a good fit for one another. On a side note, as a conversation starter, I believe you should get back to everyone who has taken the time to fill out your application. No one should be ghosted. Sure, you can delete it if it's obviously spam, but everyone else deserves a few minutes of your time. Another thing to think about. The application process is not where we disqualify people. We might note some red flags we want to discuss, but it shouldn't be designed to fail people. Here's how to make a question better on your application. Say, for example, you're concerned about fencing. I don't have a fencing question on my application, but a lot of breeders do. These questions often say, what is your fencing? Or do you have fencing? These put people on the defensive. So it's better to ask this. How do you feel about your fencing? Then maybe put in a multiple select box, like the answers could be something along the lines of, I have a great fence and I'm not worried the dog will get out. Or I don't have a fence, but I have a plan for management. Or I'm not sure about my fencing. I would like to discuss options and get some help. I think it's perfectly reasonable for someone to need a little help with fencing or other dog questions. And so they may hesitate to fill out your application if it merely says, do you have a fence? And they're embarrassed to say no. Or worse, they lie because they want to get a puppy. Use your puppy application to build rapport, trust, approachability, and to learn about your puppy buyers. Start the conversation with your puppy application and find those pups amazing homes. Next question. Should I collect deposits even if I don't have puppies? Ah, one of those strange myths coming from the breeding world folklore. You've probably heard both. Don't breed until all your puppies are sold, and don't take deposits until the puppies are born. Well, let me ask you then, how are you supposed to know those puppy buyers are serious about getting a puppy unless they place a deposit? And if you can't accept a deposit until puppies are born, then how are you supposed to breed a litter to get those puppies without deposits? Some people will tell you to build a wait list without taking money, but we know that leads to a bunch of people ghosting you when you call asking them to place a deposit to lock in their spot. So let's clear this up. Yes, you can and should collect deposits year round. This is extremely important for cash flow management. Let's say you average breeding around 50 puppies a year. If your deposit is only $500, then that's $25,000 in deposits that you could be collecting all year round. Wouldn't it be nice to collect about $500 per week to help with dog breeding costs and expenses? I mean, dogs do have to eat all year round. Taking deposits all year round has two major benefits. The first is that you get the cash flow, as I described, but the second is that you are getting people locked in when they are excited about getting a puppy, which we all know doesn't always line up with when we have puppies. You want to capture that excitement and get them on the list right away. Once they place a deposit, they stop looking for a puppy and they stop checking other breeders and they begin to prepare for the puppy. And this is the energy you want with your waitlist people. Preparation, not continual searching. There are two caveats to this. The first is if you have a very small program and inconsistent fertility. That can be complicated, and you may choose to wait to collect deposits or at the very least have enough money in savings to refund if you can't produce a puppy within a time frame, usually 6 months or so, unless you are extremely clear about the length of time that they'll be waiting. So if you let them know they're going to be waiting, that's okay too. If you have a variety of moms, at least 2, but probably 3 or 4 or more, then chances are you'll have multiple litters, and so if one breeding doesn't work out, they're only a month or so away from another, and this is just fine. It's smart to get them on the wait list for a dog from your breeding program, rather than talking up one specific mom. The way I spin it is all my moms are good. They produce a slight variety, but usually within each litter, there is the opportunity for a dog that'll fit each buyer's needs. If this is the case with you, no problem. Collect deposits. However, if your dogs vary a lot, either through size, coat texture, or temperament, then you might want to be a little bit more careful about accepting a ton of deposits if it'll be a long time if that litter doesn't take. The second caveat is if you feel very uncomfortable taking money from people, then you need to figure out why. Chances are you don't believe in your program or trust it will produce. If it's a bit of a nervousness over taking money from people and holding it, then I recommend you keep it in a separate account and just let it sit there. This way you're covered if anything happens and you need to refund. If you feel bad taking the 25 to 33% of the total puppy cost in your deposit, then start lower and see if you can begin to build your comfortability with taking more. There is a balance to strike between having them invested in the purchase because of the deposit, but also taking too much and it feeling disingenuous. I feel 25 to 33% is usually the range. I select the number based on easy numbers to remember. So $500 if your dogs are 2,000, or maybe $700 if your dogs are 2,100. Nice, easy, big round numbers. I promise if you're new, it only gets easier. And last question, how do you tactfully turn buyers down? You know how it goes. You get a puppy application, you're excited, it's nice selling puppies, and then, you read through it and there are layers of red flags. The people simply aren't prepared for what comes with managing one of your dogs. Now, I believe in giving everyone a chance, at least in conversation. But my goal in that conversation, if they're one of the red flag people, is to determine if they're simply needing education and support and would be capable if they understood, or if they are simply not a good fit. When the latter happens and I've determined they aren't a good fit, then you have to turn them down. So how do you do that? Rejecting people is never fun. The first tactic I like to use is to be completely transparent and honest, sometimes slightly exaggerated, or worst case scenario, about what having one of the dogs would be like, with the goal of getting them to conclude that the dog would not be a good fit for them. Then you're not doing the rejecting, but you are preventing them from getting one of your dogs. because they conclude it's not a good fit for themselves. For example, I had a woman who had this really beautiful idea of a GSP puppy and her infant getting along like two buds out of a fairy tale. But she was a single mom and worked all the time and didn't have support from the child's father. I politely told her what I saw as her biggest struggle to overcome, simply that the initial 18 months of raising a GSP puppy are extremely taxing. I explained how the dogs aren't mean and wouldn't bite her baby, but they'd probably knock him over repeatedly. They definitely couldn't be left unattended together if she was even just cooking dinner, and that the GSP would take a lot of dedication and time invested while he went through everything, and that she probably wouldn't have the dog she wanted for about 4 years. It was possible, I told her, but was it worth the stress for her? How did she respond? Well, she ghosted me. But while I didn't reject her per se, I was completely honest with what I saw her future to be. It seemed to shatter her romanticized idea of what this dog was going to be, but that was a good thing. It brought her back to reality. Truthfully, she would have done wonderful with a rat terrier, but I've found people rarely consider switching from a GSP to a rat terrier or vice versa. It's just how it goes. The next tactic is to find flaws in their desires against what your dogs can provide, and then tell them that you think they'd be disappointed with one of your dogs. For example, apparently there are some articles on the internet that a lot of people read that say GSPs are very protective and good watchdogs. Yeah, well, mine are terrible at those things. A robber would come in and the dog would be like, "Hey, you're here to pet me? Cool, let's go get some cheese. Here's the fridge." So that's not going to work. For people who want a dog that's loving with everyone and then will be protective, that's a hard shake. You need a dog with a lot of discernment, often trained, and that's more German Shepherd territory, if you ask me. Albeit, if they want a GSP, then they often are a little afraid of German Shepherds, or at least the shedding. However, when I get those buyers, I need to set their expectations right away. So I'll say, so these dogs aren't very protective, and they are terrible watchdogs. They're more likely to invite the robber in rather than tell you about it. That's what I say to set the stage. I usually pause as they process this. Then if they say nothing back, I propose the question. Is the protective and watchdog nature a nice to have, or is it a necessity? If it's a necessity, then I'm afraid you'll be disappointed with one of my dogs. At which time they'll either tell me it would be nice but isn't necessary, or they'll tell me they'll get back to me. And they usually never do. Both are fine. If they accept that the dog will be poor at being protective and watchful, then I've done my job at setting proper expectations, and they won't be frustrated or feel deceived by me and the puppy later, which is all you can really do. If none of these tactics work, which generally they do 98% of the time, at least for me, then you can always opt for the vague but effective, "I'm sorry, I don't think my dogs will be a good fit for you." And you can sort of leave it at that. Then they'll think you're weird or bad with people, awkward, but at the very least, they'll go somewhere else to get a dog, which is fine. Well, there you go. A few questions and tactics on handling the finer details of dog breeding. I wish you the best of luck, as always. Know that a lot of these things are developed over time, so if you aren't good at it now, you probably just need a little more practice. If you have questions for me just like this, feel free to drop them in on the right-hand column on my website, honestdogbreeder.com. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Honest Dog Breeder Podcast with me, your host, Julie Swan. I'm so glad we get to spend this time together. Thank you again, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you found this episode helpful, please tap that like button. It helps me better understand you and supports the channel. If you're a current or aspiring dog breeder, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos come out. Thanks.